I'll tell you what, this Illini basketball team, they never make it easy.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if it wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. My name is Verma, your host here at Locked On, where I continue to provide you coverage daily, every single day. All the information you see and hear is absolutely free. The only thing I ask for in return is if you don't mind, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It is my goal to hit 4,000 by the time we hit the beginning of basketball season. Speaking of which, technically, almost, it's today, Sunday, depending on when you're watching this. I'm recording this very early Sunday morning. Illinois is going to be squaring off in an exhibition match against the Illinois State Redbirds, a game which, quite honestly, looks a lot less interesting from a certain angle than it did 24 hours ago. But in other angles, it looks actually a lot more interesting. Brad Underwood met with the media early Saturday morning, and he said that, this team is not exactly going to be at full strength. We already knew Rodgers was going to be out. We assumed Andrej Stojaković was going to be out. But two surprises is Tomislav Ivišić is not going to be playing, and neither is Mihailo Petrovic. Now, Tomislav, a lot of people noted, missed Big Ten Media Days a couple weeks ago in Chicago because he had tonsil issues. He had to get his tonsils removed, and apparently he just hasn't fully recovered from that instance, and so he's going to be taking a backseat today. And Mihailo Petrovic, who we know still isn't cleared by the NCAA, what are you doing? Please, let's get this done. Well, he wouldn't be playing regardless, whether he was cleared or not. So it looks like he got a major ankle sprain at some point this past week. So Illinois is certainly going to be shorthanded this week. But you know what, quite honestly, so is Illinois State. Illinois State's going to be missing their best player, Chase Walker, and also one of their best players in Johnny Kinzinger, who's also going to be missing the game. It looks like this is a game that both teams are essentially treating like what it is, an exhibition. They don't want to risk any injuries that they don't have to risk. And so that doesn't mean, however, that there's not things or angles to watch here with this Illini basketball team. And I wanted to kind of highlight the things that I'm going to be looking for for the game that starts at 2 o'clock today on Big Ten Plus. So get your Big Ten Plus free trials locked in today while you can. So first and foremost, I'm not going to say Keaton Wagler because everyone is going to say Keaton Wagler. Everyone who's previewed this game is saying, hey, now that Stojaković is out, all these guys are out. The guy we want to see is the guy who the hype is built around, Keaton Wagler. I get it. I think that one goes without saying. So let me just get that one out of the way. But there's two things that really I'm going to have my eye on during this basketball game. And I want to know in the comment section what you're going to have your eye on. And also, give me a score prediction. Why not? First and foremost, I want to see, with Tomislav Ivišić out, I want to see how this Illinois team deploys his brother, Zvonimir Ivišić. Now, they have very different styles of play, but Zvonimir, we've heard, gained about 30 pounds of muscle already this offseason. And I do think that Illinois has one of the better center combos in the entire Big Ten, if not the country. And Zvonimir is a basketball player in itself where he could start for a lot of teams in this country. He was a very highly heralded prospect, when going to Kentucky originally, then going to Arkansas last year. He scored 25 plus points in a basketball game. And quite honestly, Illinois State, for as good as they're going to be, right, they're projected to win the Missouri Valley Conference. Like, they're a very good basketball team. Don't get me wrong. But how many times do you see a guy who's 7'3" who can shoot threes and block shots in the Missouri Valley Conference? Not very often. And so Zvonimir is one of those weapons who I don't think is being talked about as much, but I can low-key see him doing some damage today. It's probably going to be him and Jason Jaxtis at the 5 spot. But I think Zvonimir is where I just want to see what kind of offensive system they run around him. Do they have him shooting 3-pointers? Do they play him kind of in the traditional Tomislav role, where maybe let him get the ball at the high key and, maybe orchestrate the offense? I don't think so, because that's not really his sort of game. But quite honestly, this could be a game. And again, I don't know how Brad's going to treat it. I'm just taking a look at the guy sitting out. It looks like he might be treating it as kind of like a glorified practice. And so maybe Zvonimir and maybe all these starters that I'm talking about, well, they're only going to play like 15 minutes. Now, I do think that they're going to try to win this game. And Jeff Alexander, one of the assistant coaches on Saturday morning, said as much, that they are going to attempt to win this game. But with Illinois State being out a couple of their best players, I think it matters a little less that Illinois is going to be out a couple of theirs. So I do think that they're going to make a strong effort. Do they play a traditional game, or are they going to be playing maybe more situational and just try to see how certain lineups work out together? Either way, Zvonimir Ivišić is the guy who I'm going to have my eyes on the most. The other guys, Kyle Boswell, Ben Humrichous, Jake Davis, I assume they're going to have, solid games themselves, but I kind of know what I have with those guys. Ben Humrichous, if this is the game he makes 5 3-pointers, my expectations are leveled at this point. I'm not going to automatically translate that to meaning, oh, he's in for a big year 2 jump. He might be, don't get me wrong, but we're not going to find out on Sunday. But what we are going to find out on Sunday, I truly believe, is what kind of role that this coaching staff has envisioned for Tomislav's brother, Zvonimir Ivišić. The other thing I'm really looking forward to seeing is, what does his defense look like? Obviously, now that Zach Hamer is no longer in charge of the defense, which let's admit it, a lot of Illini fans are pretty excited about. Well, they've made a new hire, a guy who, when he was hired, none of us knew who he was. And that's, of course, assistant Camryn Crocker. But Cameron's brought a pretty decent pedigree with him from his previous stops. And so supposedly, we're going to stop playing the relaxed, keep it out of the paint, force you to make difficult shots type of defense where we don't really try to turn the ball over. And now we've kind of converted our system more to a more aggressive. Let's try to take that ball away. Let's try to be handsy. And I want to see what that looks like on Sunday at 2, because that's something which, regardless, like the offense, of course, is going to look a little bit different because some of your best offensive players are out, but defense should always look the same. Even if some of your best defenders are out, you still want to see what style is being implemented by the 5 guys that you have on the court, because that I don't think would change depending on the personnel necessarily on the court. When it comes to defense is just one of those things where Illinois has to drastically improve on if they have hopes to reach the Sweet 16, if not Elite 8 this year. I think that could be the ceiling. Like the floor is high, I would think, because you have such veteran players. But clearly, the defense, you don't have the athleticism that some of the other teams in the country do. You don't have the athleticism that some of the other teams in the Big Ten Conference do. But defense, I think, is going to be a clear focus of this basketball team this upcoming year. In the last couple of years, it just simply has not been good. And it's nice to see that Brad Underwood has recognized that. And, he's open to trying things differently. And that's exactly what we're going to see at the beginning on Sunday. We're going to see Camryn Crocker and see what his style of defense looks like. Right now is where it's all hypothetical. We can discuss it. I can talk about it. I can ramble on about it here on the show. But I'll have more things to judge after I watch this game on Tuesday. And we'll see if I do a live recap. I'm not sure. Maybe by the time this video airs, if by the time the game is over, we have 50 likes on this video, I'll do a recap. Otherwise, I'll just wait for Monday morning. But again, let me know what you are looking forward to most in this game against Illinois State. I know a lot of star players are out, but that doesn't mean that this game is not important. It may not matter in the standings, but I do think that, hey, this Illinois basketball team, I think, is going to be a very good basketball team. How good? I don't know. We're going to find out. But I think that journey starts tonight. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick the easiest pick on the board. Bet $5, and if you win, you can get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Look, it's NFL Sunday, depending on when you're listening to this. I already got a Roma Dunze anytime touchdown, Caleb Williams, 2+ touchdowns. That's what I love about the app. Whether if I want to bet player props, which is what I'm doing today, I can do that. If I want to bet teams, overs, parlays, whatever I want, the FanDuel app allows me to do it. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. One of the tools that help make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or your computer, so no more carrying 2 phones or relying on a landline. I love Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone, because it lets the team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox, so no customer gets left hanging. Whether you're a solo operator or juggling everything or a part of a larger team, Quo makes it easy to stay responsive and professional. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's quo.com/lockedoncollege. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Illinois football gets zero help from the outside world, and looks like they're just going to have to take this into their own hands. Of course, we're talking about the bye week, the first official bye week of this Illinois football team, where we got to sit back and relax and watch college football all day on Saturday. And there was 3 games in particular that I had my eyes on. Why? Because those games could help boost the Illinois resume moving forward. Obviously, Illinois sits at 5-2 currently, with those 2 losses being to what is the #1 team in the country, and as of this recording, the #3 team in the country. But who knows? By the time you're watching this, it could be the top 2 teams in the country. Of course, I'm talking about Ohio State and Indiana. Well, there's 3 games on the schedule which could have helped Illinois. And first and foremost was the game Duke versus Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech was the 12th ranked team in the country. Obviously, Illinois beat Duke 45-19 in week 2. Now, Duke happened to lose to Tulane the week after, and a lot of people thought, hey, unfortunately, that win against Duke is not going to seem as strong as we maybe thought it was going to in the pregame. What happened after that? Well, Duke was 3-0 in the ACC. They were on top of their conference, and they kind of controlled their own destiny. So what happens? They play Georgia Tech, which, again, if you guys watched this game with me, and some of you in the Discord absolutely did, you know how frustrating of a game this was. Duke was clearly the better team, but it seems like despite being the better team for 90% of the game, for 10% of that game, their brains just fell out. And you're just talking about special teams errors that no good, well-coached team should be making, and they squandered that opportunity. And Duke, unfortunately, lost to Georgia Tech, and now is going to be on the outside looking in when it comes to getting to that ACC or winning the ACC at this point. So now Illinois fans, right off the bat, unfortunately, they go 0-1. That's okay, though. Then I moved on in the afternoon batch to Michigan versus Washington. Now, Washington is 5-1 coming until yesterday, playing against a Michigan team, which were their 5.5-point underdogs. But what you guys know is Illinois plays Washington next week. So what I was hoping for was a big Washington win. And so the Huskies would be 6-1. Then we'd be traveling to Seattle, Illinois, against Washington in a very big marquee matchup, an Illinois matchup against a team that I thought was criminally underrated in the Huskies. Again, sitting at 5-1, but unfortunately, they are just a different team at home than they are on the road. And while they kept it close for the most part against the Michigan Wolverines, Michigan had their way with them, in particular in the fourth quarter, and basically they dominated the game from that point on. They won the game, I believe it was 24-7. But now, unfortunately, we know the USC win looks like it's going to look better moving forward. That potential Washington win could have really helped with the eventual college football playoff resume that Illinois is kind of banking on, right? Like, we have to. Like, you've lost 2 games, but they were against the number 1 and 2 teams in the country. The rest of the schedule is winnable. But what the rest of the country thinks about when they see Illinois or when they hear Illinois is 63-10. And so what you needed to do was have the rest of your schedule boosted a little bit so that those victories against USC, those victories against, hopefully Washington would look better. But unfortunately, and Duke, who I mentioned before, but unfortunately Duke and Washington did not come out the way Illini fans wanted. And so all we had was the nightcap. And I wasn't the only one observing this. Brett Bielema tweeted, I think it was very early on in the game between USC and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Brett said, bye week 1 behind us and Washington week ahead. Watching number 20 USC at number 13 Notre Dame in a really good game, knowing that homecoming game was a special victory that will keep helping us if USC can keep winning. Our 2 missed opportunities could be 1 and 2 in this week's poll. 1-0 mentality ahead. Brett knows. The best case scenario for Illini fans would be USC having one Saturday evening because A, it makes that victory over USC look that much stronger, but B, maybe more importantly, is it would knock Notre Dame out of the college football playoff picture. If they would be at 3 losses already, then Illinois in many ways would control their destiny over the Irish. But of course, guess what? That didn't happen. I just talked about how there were silly Billy plays in that Duke game against Georgia Tech. I don't know what Lincoln Riley was thinking during that game against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish last night. I mean, you're talking about it's one thing to try to act cute and do your West Coast fun style of play when you're in California, when it's 85-degree weather outside, the sun is out. But if you guys watched this game, the weather was awful. It was pouring rain. And Lincoln Riley had just some of the dumbest plays, it was like 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and he's making Makai Lemon be a quarterback. It's just simply one of those where if you didn't believe in Lincoln Riley before, you kind of confirmed your thoughts yesterday. I just don't know if this conference, again, I know Notre Dame isn't technically Big Ten, but let's be honest. Big Ten or Notre Dame plays like they are a Big Ten team. They're located in the geography and whatnot. Lincoln Riley just squanders an opportunity. I think USC absolutely had a chance to win as late as that third quarter, but just brutal plays by some of their players cost them that opportunity. Now, Illinois goes 0-3 for what they want to happen on Saturday. And so they sit there at 5-2, but unfortunately you have teams like Michigan also with 2 losses. You have USC sitting there now with 2 losses, and it's going to be a control your own destiny. A destiny that's not going to be easy because, unfortunately, despite you having beaten USC and you're not going to play Michigan, if all 3 teams finish with 2 losses, well, you're not going to get the nod over a brand like Michigan or a brand like the USC Trojans. Now, granted, you are fortunate in the sense where you do have USC, I believe, plays Oregon later on in their schedule. So you're going to have to hope Oregon takes care of USC, and you're going to have to hope Ohio State finally gets over the hump and beats the Michigan Wolverines later on. But let's be honest, even at 10-2, if those 2 schools are 9-3, or some of the other schools in the SEC are 9-3, they might still get the leg up over the Illini when it comes to that final college football playoff spot. And I know some of you are thinking about making the college football playoff, and I'm sitting here talking about it. I don't think that should be the thing that we think about every single day. Like Brett Bielema said, 1-0 mentality ahead, just win every single week. Yeah, we might be favored from this point on for the regular season. At least, again, as of this recording, the Washington line is not up. That could be a 50-50 call either way. But Illinois is simply not talented enough, not good enough to go ahead into every single week and assume that you can win that game just based on showing up. Illinois is a very good football team, don't get me wrong, but you need to put in the work. You need to keep the focus. And that's why I love this 1-0 week mentality. I like that Brett's building that. Hey, don't worry about who you're playing the following week. Just focus on your opponent head. Go 1-0. Once you win that game, enjoy it for a moment, and then a new week starts, and a new 1-0 mentality starts. Again, it's not going to be easy for Illinois fans. With one of my frequent co-hosts on here, JR, watched the Big Ten Huddle yesterday. And 2 weeks ago, it was actually another former co-host, Kent, who jumped on, and he's had USC over Illinois. I'm like, what just happened? Illinois beat USC 2 weeks ago. But he said, no, I think if they met on a field today, USC would beat Illinois. And I vented my frustrations. I'm like, this is what Illinois kind of has to do. They don't get the benefit of the doubt like the big brands do. Well, USC lost, which I predicted that they would. And then I watched JR's Big Ten Huddle yesterday, and he's got Michigan leapfrogging Illinois now. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Illinois beat USC, a team that trounced Michigan just last week. But he's like, yeah, but when I see the play on the field, I just think Michigan is really starting to turn things on in 1 week. Like against a Washington team, which is just different playing away than they are at home, which is the unfortunate thing because Illinois travels to Seattle next week. And so I believe the Huskies have won 22 of 23 games at home. And so now all of a sudden, that the Michigan's win yesterday and Illinois' game next Saturday isn't an apples to apples comparison, but it doesn't matter. The narrative is already out there. And so we're at the point now where Brett Bielema, this Illini football team, they control their own destiny to a certain extent. But what they can't do is leave an opening. You can't just all of a sudden not show up for a single game. Yeah, Rutgers looks bad. Yeah, Wisconsin looks bad. Northwestern looks like they are improving. So I think that's going to be a more challenging game. Maryland looks like they're kind of having the same swoon that they always seem to have in the second half of Mike Locksley seasons. But you still have to take care of business. There's still talented players on the other side of the field. And obviously, when it comes to off the field, the college football world simply did not help you. And so Brett Bielema and this coaching staff, they know they've got a tough job ahead. And it's time to get to work. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and get a better handle on my investments without having to touch a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off of your first year. Before I let you go, remember, if I have 50 likes on this video by the time this Illinois State versus Illinois exhibition match is over, I will do a recap afterwards. Otherwise, you can look forward to my normal Monday episode. I did want to mention that Carson Bounds from On3 Sports has mentioned that men's basketball target Adam, I'm going to botch this name, Umadak, is on campus for an official visit this weekend. 6'5", really good shooting guard. Ranks number 47 in the 2026 Rivals rankings. I'll do a little bit more of a scouting report maybe sometime this week. But Illinois does have company. Illinois is going to be showcasing, a potential recruit. Let's see what happens. Also, Ryan Evan Schrodt did report that 4-star shooting guard Josiah Jervis, who was supposed to be on an official weekend this particular weekend, didn't show up. And it looks like Illinois and him are going in different directions. The feedback I've gotten is Illinois feels like they are in pretty good shape with a couple of prospects in the cycle and the commitment that Jervis would have wanted when it comes to the financial aspect. I think Illinois kind of feels might be better spent towards a couple of other targets that they're going after. If you want to know who those targets are, again, make sure you join the Talk Illini Discord. The link should be in the description, where myself and I mean, Carson, who I mentioned earlier, is just completely on fire, dropping recruiting nuggets, both in basketball and football. So, there's some things I'm not allowed to report or get it out there, but I am able to say in a more private setting like the Talk Illini Discord. And by the way, why wouldn't you want to join the biggest Illini community that's out there? We're at over 325 members now, talking Illini sports all day, every day, as well as other sports and life happenings as well. So make sure you want to join the biggest community. That way you stop bothering your Uncle Bob about things that he doesn't care about. He doesn't care about Mihailo Petrovic rolling his ankle. You know who does? Me and 325 of your fellow Illini friends. Thank you for making Locked On Illini your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Big Ten. Craig Chamon breaks down the most exciting conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That's going to wrap it up. Maybe I'll see you later today. We got 50 likes on this video. Otherwise, I'll see you Monday morning. Until then, ILL. Love you guys.